I didn't value myself. I didn't think highly of myself. I didn't think that I could be anyone in this world. I didn't think that I could make positive contributions to this world, right? And my camera was not only a creative tool, but it was a gift to myself in the way that it helped me value myself.
This is Sad Boy Radio.
What's the word, everybody? Welcome back to Sad Boy Radio. I'm your host, Matt, and today, man, we got a special guest in the building. He's a member of RichVision. He's an amazing photographer. Does a lot of protesting nowadays.
Organizing.
I don't know how you be outside like that, bro. He's not outside, but he be outside being an activist. Introduce yourself, bro.
This is Jordan, aka HeavyButLite. Thanks for having me.
I want to understand that fucking name. Who the fuck came up with HeavyButLite and why?
Back in the day, right, all my like Instagram names and stuff were just like variations of my last name in like some way, shape, or form. But I wanted to kind of like brand myself, and you know, everybody's like turns their personality or their person into like a corporation these days, right? So I'm like, well, I kind of need like a photo alias and things like that. So it was actually me and one of my best friends, Isaiah. We was just sitting in my room one day with literally like a notebook, just writing down like potential brand names. And he was the one who was actually like Heavy But Light. And I'm like, okay.
What the fuck does that even mean?
That's the thing about it. It's less about like a meaning and more about, again, it's a brand, right? Or a brand name. So it sticks with people. You think about it. Like you literally have a question about it. You hear a lot of other stuff and you don't have a question about it.
Like pivot stick?
What is pivot stick?
That's what people call private stock when they walk in.
No, that's crazy.
Because they see how it's spelled. They're like,
Uh,
oh yeah, I've been the pivot stick. I'm like, it's private stock.
Literacy rates are falling across the country. So
There's no R there. So, I mean, I can understand the confusion.
I knew what it meant.
And you got your start with private stock through Prime Fortune, right?
Prime Fortune had just reposted that, private stock were looking for creative interns for the studio. So I just applied. I came, did my interview with Arroyo, and we were just going from there.
What did that interview look like back then? Because these dudes were still like, how old were they? Like 27?
You know, it's crazy because they were like the age that I am now.
How old are you now?
So I'm 28.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny thinking about that. I was like working at Best Buy at the time.
Hey, Best Buy twins, bro. I'm telling you, I worked at Best Buy too.
Everybody. So I just came after work, did the interview. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember exactly what he asked me, but it was some pretty basic questions, like, a very slight screening of who I am. But I mean, he was probably like vibe checking a lot too, though. And so was I. And I didn't actually meet the other guys like that day. It was just him here. And he was cool. So I'm like, this could be a nice environment. I was happy they had a fridge, so that was like a real big thing for me because I could like keep food and store food and heat it up and whatnot. So I was like, wow, this could work out, and it was really we're really up north right now. So that worked out for me, like coming from Lake County.
Which Best Buy did you work at? Waukegan?
No, we don't got a Best Buy in Waukegan. We got a Best Buy in Gurnee because the city of Gurnee, where Six Flags is just like a business district. It's not really like a city.
So you worked at the Best Buy in Gurnee?
Yeah, it was one of the top Best Buys in the nation for like a very long time. We were like, man, like top 10 in sales across the country for a very long time. We had one of the best camera departments. Personally, I was the Nikon rep, which helped me like advance my career a lot because they gave me like a free camera.
They give you a free camera?
Yeah, free camera, free flash, a couple lenses. And I was working at Best Buy for like 3 months when I got the interview here. So I was like fresh with that camera, ready to take another step. And this was my next step.
Ain't it crazy how some of the opportunities you get early on in life just kind of add up exponentially to everything else that you've accomplished, even when you thought that shit was small as fuck. So, right, starting at Best Buy, getting that free camera, like back then you probably were like, all right, it's some free shit. Like, I'll take it, And eventually it just continues to grow and grow and grow, and then you're in a position you never thought you'd be in. So getting back to private stock, right? You start over here. How did they help you establish a foundation for yourself for what you would go on to becoming a staple in Chicago as a photographer within the media industry?
Wow, I appreciate you saying that because a lot of people don't talk about me like that, but that's love. How private stock really, enabled me to do so was just by like letting me rock out and giving me access to the space. Like very quickly, I was just eager to get involved, eager to do good work, uh, eager to just really prove myself. I had been out here doing some work here and there for at that point maybe like a year and a half, and I just knew like the reputation that like pretty much suburb kids, even though Waukegan is not really like
That's
that
a suburb.
suburban.
No, that's a suburb.
I
Don't
mean,
don't try
that's
to
that's
change
what
it.
y'all think,
Don't try to
but it's
change
the
it.
ninth largest
That's
city
like
on the
him trying
west
to claim
coast
Aurora,
of
bro.
Lake Michigan. So, we definitely up there. But I knew the reputation that like suburb kids had out here of just like kind of, like one, just not being as good at things as like people in the city and stuff like that. And it's just like generally being hard for us to like step into these environments. But I feel like from a character standpoint, from an energy standpoint, I fit well in here. I loved hanging out with everybody. There was like an incredible group of people when I stepped in here, and I really loved that aspect. I spent so much time here. Like I was working a full time job, but then I would come here and be here till like 1, 2 in the morning. Mind you, I got to drive an hour back to Waukegan. So life was crazy at that time, but what they did was they just allowed me to do what I want in the sense of like going after what I wanted. If I wanted to be in the studio, I could pull up. Like if I wanted to shoot this person, they had me linked to the schedule. I always saw the schedule for the whole week. I knew who was in what room at what time and things like that. So I always knew, even if I didn't know the artist's name, right? Like I had an opportunity to just go get my reps up, right? And it's just about shooting in the gym at the end of the day, because that really helped me just getting my shots up, editing all the time and stuff like that. So they just gave me the opportunity to do what I want in the sense of going after what I wanted.
At that time, what was it that you wanted?
Man, I just wanted to shoot. Like I just wanted to shoot. I wanted to be out here. I wanted to build relationships. I wanted to really show people that I was raw, show people that I could contribute to this artist culture out here and do that positively, right? And not just from an art standpoint, but from a character standpoint as well. Like nobody who experienced me in this studio could really say anything like foul about me, Like I was always here, always respectful, always respecting the space, respecting other people's time, right? Respecting other people's art, and even like helping some of the artists do their thing and whatnot. So I just wanted to be a contributor, and whatever space I go to, I really want to contribute positively to it.
So, what do you feel like was one of the most important relationships you developed while being at Private Stock?
I would say definitely just my connection with Herson and Arroyo. Like it was a combination of them two and Damn Damn. Because while Herson and Arroyo gave me access to like the studio, right? It was hanging out with Dim Dim and like going around the city and shooting like pretty much wherever he would DJ at, I would go shoot, right? At the time, I had no access to like concerts or like nightlife or things of that nature. So I had no portfolio of those kinds of images, but I also had no experience shooting that stuff. So like the first couple times we went out, I was not doing well, like I had never really took photos in the dark type thing. So again, just like the exposure to these situations, like Damn Damn took me all around the city to all these different venues and just let me shoot his gigs. And that's how I got really also known as kind of like an event photographer too, was just being in all these spaces and whatnot, V5 never hired me, but that's here and there.
You tried to get hired by them?
I mean, I was trying to get hired by anybody at that point, but you know,
How'd you get your camera into the Omar Apollo concert?
I met him back in like 2017. One of my friends is like a part of his team now in a certain capacity, right? And me and my homie from like out by Lake County, we had basically became like peers, mutuals, friends with Vinny and Lone Wolf. They're like two visual artists from the same area. And one day when we went out to Indiana, it was probably like me, my guy, and East World. We all went out there, and Omar was there. I had never met him or heard of him before that point. I mean, he was a local artist, just like I was a local artist, right? Like who did he know from Waukegan? Nobody, you know. So I ain't nobody from Hammond, Indiana, right? The funniest thing about that day is like we linked at like an ice cream shop, just like off rip, because that's where they was at. And Omar, I guess, had just got back from Atlanta, and he was just telling me about like how the people talk out there, which is funny because I didn't end up going to Atlanta till like years later, and they definitely have their own, I will say, lingo, but also like pace and like form of speech. Like it's very funny. It's very funny out there. But Atlanta, they good people. They good people, very hospitable, and they show a lot of love. But yeah, I had just met them like way back, and my homie was coming to town, and not only did I want to shoot the show, but like I hadn't seen bro in so long because he moved to LA to like do his thing. I don't like LA like that, so I'm not really, you know what I'm saying. So I'm like, why you ain't moved to New York? Like I would have flew out there if you was in New York type thing. But yeah, bro came to town. Omar was there. I'm like, let me get these shots for real ones, and see my guy. And yeah, that's what happened. I ain't sneaking my camera in nowhere.
Well, I'm just asking because his PR had hit me,
Yeah,
and so we went to the concert off the PR.
yeah.
But I asked them if I could bring my camera, and I guess they never got like a response from the venue. So I was like,
Mm.
damn. Taking it back to private stock, they helped you build these relationships. They help you establish foundation. They helped you establish this foundation throughout the city. Damn was fucking. A, from what I was told, he was the drip of back then. So you had a pretty good rhythm over here. Why step away?
Just like anything else, you wanna expand, and there was just a point in time where like I wanted to go really fast, right? And I think stepping away from here at the time that I did was oftentimes I think it wasn't really even the best decision. Like I don't I often look back at that and was just like, man, like, everything works out in life like how it really should. So I also can't say that, but in hindsight, right? Hindsight bias, like I probably should have stayed. I probably should have stayed, right? And I wanted to expand a lot, and I wasn't really accepting anymore kind of like the guidance that some of the older guys here were giving me. And the thing that we were building here was like a slowly but surely thing. And I think a lot of my, I guess, like relative success was kind of getting to my head in a way to where I'm just thinking to myself, I'm ready to make that next step. I'm ready to make that next step. I'm ready to make that next step. And then they're like, let's do that slowly. And I'm like, no, I'm ready now. So whoever got the next step for me, like I'm gone, you know? And that's just kind of how that situation went from a like a real and honest perspective. It wasn't really like I was necessarily like through with this place or I had a bad experience or anything like that. I would say, I again, like I probably should have stayed. I felt like I was ready for a next step that I didn't even necessarily go to when I left. I when I left, I was working for like a joint venture like music label thing, and I mean even that was a lot of problems, a lot of issues, just because. like the music business and the Chicago business is like mad shisty. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like my life was like blissful once I left, So that definitely contributed to a lot of those, I should have stayed thoughts. But everything works out like how it should, and I'm also grateful uh that I had such a good relationship with Herson and Arroyo to where, like they welcome me back and it's all love, and even I remember the first day I came back here in like a fat minute. I'm talking like what at this point, like 3 or 4 years. I came back here and just like talking with Herson in the lobby, and there was some event that was going on here. I think it was just like an open house or something, right? And he was just telling people like, man, like he's like one of the most successful interns we've had, like most successful alumni out of here, and it's just like, man, I'm really grateful for him to still look at me like that, because I like I was young in the moment. I was very hot-headed about what I wanted and what I thought I could do and what I felt I was going to do when I left here, right? And almost nothing went my way when I left here. Like almost nothing went my way, you know? But thankfully, we still have a good relationship. And private stock really is family. And I don't think that any part of my career is the way it is without having not started here.
Like you said, nothing went your way once you left. Oftentimes that puts a strain on somebody and makes them question, like, what the fuck am I still doing with this?
Hmm.
I was up here and I left for something that was supposed to be a better opportunity.
Hmm.
And that better opportunity has made me feel like I should just quit.
I never really had quitting thoughts.
Well, where were you mentally?
Where I was mentally was like, damn, I shouldn't have left. That's where I was at mentally. I never wanted to quit, man. Like I just never I never wanted to quit. There was many days where, bro, I promise you, like I sat there with my phone open, like, man, should I call a Royal? Like, but I felt a lot of shame too in the way that I left. Uh, I will like again, it really when I look at the almost a decade of my career, me leaving here is probably like my least favorite moment of the entire thing. You know, Um, but I never wanted to. I never wanted to quit. I wanted to figure it out. And I knew I had a vehicle to, which was just like me, my character, my personality, my talent, my skill, right, and everything that I could provide in the world. You know, because I definitely came from a place. Speaking on myself being much younger, like an adolescent and whatnot, where I didn't value myself. I didn't think highly of myself. I didn't think that I could be anyone in this world. I didn't think that I could make positive contributions to this world, right? And my camera was not only a creative tool, but it was a gift to myself in the way that it helped me value myself. It helped me value who I was in this world, and not just from a capitalistic the work I provide stance. I'm a yes, I'm a photographer, but at this point, like I'm a documentarian. You know what I'm saying? I'm again, I go to school for social work. Like I'm halfway a sociologist with this stuff. Like I've been tracking music history in Chicago for 10 years, you know? Cultural history in this area for 10 years, social movements in this area for 5 6 years now, right? These are things that when I was younger, I just couldn't envision a good me, you know? A me that belonged in the world, a me that could make a good contribution where I was at. And that's what the camera gifted me, but I never wanted to quit. That's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to better my situation.
Well, then that leads to a good and bad, right? Because now the camera has brought this value to you. And we're gonna get to the whole thing about you not valuing yourself and all of that, because that's later on in the outline. But do you feel like having the camera put so much value into who you are created that unhealthy relationship with your self perception? Because, right, when you put so much value into something such as like the podcast for me, I've allowed it to become who I am rather than Matt runs Sad Boy Radio is running Matt. And when you allow it to overtake your life like that, a lot of things fall by the wayside.
It's a side effect of the culture that we have. Like we live in a culture in a country that values our labor more than it values who we are as people. Especially both me and you are Mexican people. This country does not value who we are as people. This country values the exploitation of our labor, you know? So that builds into this psyche that we have where what we start to do becomes who we are and not the other way around, where it's just a piece of our personality, right? So there was definitely points like that. And when you talk about things going to the wayside, like, man, let me tell you, when I tell you nothing was going my way, bro, left here instantly, broke up, like me and my shorty broke up, like all types of things, bro. I had like $3.41 in my account, like, you know.
That's not bad for real.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it was getting wicked, you know? That again goes to where there's that transition of like, I'm not Jordan, I'm a photographer. I become my work. But my work is a part of me. Just like hypothetically, if I were to, you know, be married and have children, right? Like I'm still Jordan. And these are things I know now, you know. I'm still Jordan, but I'm somebody's husband. I'm somebody's father. That's a piece of me, but I'm still me, you know? But we live in a culture that again negates a lot of that and places what we do from a productivity standpoint as who we are. And it's just a side effect of that. It's the country we live in.
And that's why people fall into this category of I'm a parent, so I only do this. I only hang out with my kid. Because as you're aging, a lot of those people who fall into that category are usually younger, right? About 20 to 25. They have a kid, they get married, and that's their whole personality because that's all they know at such a young age. And as they get older, you know, there's stories all the time. People go back to school because their kids got older. Why? Because their main role in life isn't to be a mom anymore. It's always going to be a role, but it's not what defines you anymore. You know what I'm saying? That probably sounds really stupid because I know a lot of people value being a mom and that's always going to be their main role.
There's a lot of value in being a mother. There's infinite value. There's no way to actually value being a mother because it's one of the most important
But
things
that's what
in
I'm
this
saying.
world.
Like, I probably shouldn't have used main role in life as the key word.
Yeah.
But the point being is that a lot of people realize that, yes, I'm a mom, but I can still do other things.
Exactly.
Like go back to school and get my bachelor's or whatever it may be.
Or just go to brunch. Like, you know, just enjoy themselves one time for the one time.
You were down bad for real, man.
I was super down bad.
When it rains, it pours.
Thunderstorm.
That was for ATS, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Wasn't Jason working over there?
This is where things get muddy, right? Again, I'm not from out here, right? So I do not know a lot of the intricacies of these places, these companies, these relationships, and things like that. Okay. Let me tell you the story of how I even ended up stepping foot in that building. Okay. There was some guys here that I would like shoot consistently. And one night, I was up here with Ignite. Yeah, so me and him would be in sessions all the time. Like all the time when like he was here, I'd pull up all the time. So me and him would be in a session, right? And you know, he has a bunch of clients, okay? So I want to say it's like me, him, and this group of guys, and they have the room till like 10, right? And they trying to get the room till like 1. He's all like, I got other people coming. They're like, oh, we booked another studio. So again, like I'm an unpaid intern here, right? So they're like, "Hey, yo, we'll give you like $100 if you pull up to this other studio and shoot." I'm like, "Bet," So I go over there, shoot, and I actually connect with the engineer there.
Who's the engineer at the time?
A Will, this dude A Will. Actually, this is so random because it's not gonna be this day anymore when this comes out. But actually, happy birthday, A Will, because this is his birthday today as we record this. Shout out to him because also he's also like a really cool, good person who really did like do a lot for me and just looked out for me opportunity wise. So I really appreciate him. A Will was the engineer there slash runner. Like you know how the studio life goes, right? Months later, maybe 6 or 7 months later, for it was a minute. He just hits me on Instagram like, "Yo, we got this like young artist here. He needs to do like some like photo shoot, like some press stuff. We need some editorial things, et cetera, et cetera. Like, are you interested? Can you come through?" Again, I'm like, "Yeah, it's always like some small budget stuff, especially at that point." So I was just like, yeah, and he actually hit me in a time where it was so specific. I had just quit Best Buy because like I was dealing with just some like crazy workplace stuff, bro. Like they was in there they was in there saying a lot of racist things, and it had got to a point where like my manager legit asked me if I wanted to like throw hands. And I'm like, "You don't want to throw hands." So let's phrase the question like that actually. Bro, this is a crazy day. This is a crazy time in my lore. I quit Best Buy. The next day I get like a job being a dental assistant, right? And I worked like 6 days being a dental assistant. And I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy." Cause they had asked me to like cut somebody's gum. And I'm like, "Nah, I don't think that's me for real." So then I quit that on like the 6th day.
You know how to cut gum?
I don't know how to cut nothing.
And there he needs his gums cut.
I don't know how to cut nothing, bro. So it was just a wild time in my life, right? So I quit that. And literally, I quit and I'm sitting in the parking lot and I'm just sitting in my car. Like, bro, like what really am I gonna do in my life for real? Bro, A Will hit me like right there in that moment and was all like, "Oh, come through." So I went and took those photos. The artist was Happy Birthday Calvin.
And it's
And
everybody's birthday.
yeah, that was his artist name at the time. So I go pull up, take those photos. Again, like I just can't stress enough, and I'm not saying this to like hype myself as like a super like a person that's better than anybody else, but like my character and like being able to socialize has not only got me in a lot of rooms, but kept me in a lot of rooms, right? I pull up, do the photo shoot, and they just love me. They was like, "Yo, like, what are you actually doing?" I don't know what day this was, but they were like Thursday or Friday or something. He's gonna perform with the social experiment, like the after school stuff, right? And I'm just all like, "Yo, honestly, like, I'm unemployed right now, like freshly, so I'll pull up." They're like, "Okay, cool, yeah, pull up at this time, come right back here to the studio, and like you'll shoot that." And I'm like, "All right, bet." So I pull up, and something happened like in the city that day. And I will say at the time I wasn't like too up on like city politics, but something happened in the city that day which trickled down to like some things with like CPS. There might have been a strike that day or something like that, right? But basically, long story short, social experiment, the after school thing got canceled. So mind you, I came all the way from Waukegan, pulled up to the studio to like then ride with them to the social experiment. We all sitting in the studio and they like, "Damn, like the show got canceled." And I remember the owner of that studio, the ATS, Peasy, he was all like, "Man, like, sorry, like we had you come, all the way out here and it got canceled." And I said, "It's all right. A lot of things get canceled." And he like paused for a second and he was all like, "That's a very player way to handle that." And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm not really tripping, things happen. And he was all like, well, like you can hang out if you want, like feel free to kick it, etc., etc. So I stayed, took some pictures. I'm probably chilling in the room for like an hour, and he comes back in the room like, hey yo, like let me talk to you for a second. I'm like, bet. And then he's all like, man, you know, would you want to work here? And I'm like, what does work mean? Right? Because like, especially in this creative game, like it's a lot of unpaid interns out here. You feel me? He's like, no, like, paid gig, like, et cetera, et cetera. We have a conversation, talk about like what he needs, what he wants me to do, and like some bread and whatnot. And um I think at that time they were maybe like literally 1 week exactly away from like announcing the joint venture that they were doing as a label with Hitco in LA. And he's all like, yeah, so like we want you here, come work here. Um, you don't gotta do nothing right now. Come back next week for the announcement slash the party. Again, I never wanted to leave private stock, actually. I never wanted to leave private stock. I'm still at this time, literally at this time where I'm sitting having this conversation with Peasy, I am the lead intern here at private stock. Okay. I did not want to leave here. So as soon as I left, I didn't even tell this to ATS. As soon as I left ATS, I sent a text to like pretty much the person who was like managing like the interns here, and was just all like, yo, I remember I sent I pretty much like made a group chat. I think it was like me, them, Jason, uh, it might have been Hurston, but like probably Arroyo. And I was just like, yo, this is the situation. I really don't want to leave. I don't want to leave private stock. That's not what I want to do, right? But they're offering me a job. You feel me? So like, could y'all? And that was just again with me wanting to take a next step and expand, and them wanting to go more like slowly but surely type thing. It was just something at the moment that they couldn't do. Fast forward like 3, 4 months later, that's when I find out that like they used to have like a whole partnership where they were all in the studio together and whatnot, unbeknownst to me. Again, not from here. You feel me? So like I didn't even know this. I remember exactly where I was when Peasy told me. We were walking, when you go to the airport and they got them like walk whatever
The
things to walk
ramps.
faster, on flat ground, like you walk faster. We're literally walking on one of those things in the Raleigh airport. We got flown out to go to Dreamville Fest. For whatever reason, Dreamville invited us to their thing, the first one. And that's when like Peasy told me the whole story about like how they used to all like work together and whatnot. And I was just like kind of shook because low key in that moment, I felt like plotted on. And I remember just the whole time we're in Raleigh, bro, that was just like in my head, like, damn, like, am I kind of a chess piece in this, yeah, a pawn in this like grand scheme of what both these people have going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was it was a very confusing like weekend for me, you know. Um Saw an iguana for the first time just like for no reason. As soon as we got to the hotel, I'd step out the Uber, it's an iguana on the floor. It's blue. I'm like, bruh, what? Walk in the hotel, DJ drama in the lobby. I'm like, what's going on, bro? So it was just like that weekend was like, man, I don't even know what to think about nothing, you know? Um So it was a very crazy time for me. And yeah, that's how I came to find out that like all these people were connected. Cause I mean, as you know now, as I know now, like Chicago is a big city, but a small place, you know? And again, I just wasn't from here and didn't know nothing about it until I was told about it.
So what happened after that situation?
I mean, I worked there for probably about like a year.
So at what point does RichVision become a thing?
That's a great question because it was through ATS, but not directly. We got invited to the MGK Machine Gun Kelly show here at Aragon Ballroom. So whatever tour he was on in 2019, we get invited to that show. For whatever reason, not a lot of people from the staff are like in town. So it's like me, Lenny. I think it was just me and Lenny. So he calls like one of his, Lenny is like the co-owner of ATS. He calls like one of his friends and we basically all ride to like Aragon together, right? We in the car and dude who drove us, sorry to that person, but I just can't remember his name. Dude who drove us plays Stash Money by Flex. And like Lenny is like bopping to this song, and it's like obviously it's a great song. Like I love Stash. That's still like up there as far as Flex songs for me. And I'm like, yo, who is this? Like, who is this artist? Like, I love this song. And they're like, oh, this is Flex. Like, you never heard of Flex? And I'm like, no. So that's how I heard of Flex, right? Fast forward, who actually makes that connection is Ron Louie. What ends up happening is like Ron gets me and like one of my former creative partners to shoot like a video for when he made the orange distressed jean jackets when he was running the Farrah label. So he gets us to shoot this video, right? And we're like, what song do you want on the video? And he sends us this song, A by Flex. And I had forgot that like I had already heard Flex's music before. So we're like co-editing this video and whatnot. And usually when you edit a video, bro, like you damn near don't even like the song. Like by the time the video's finished, you know what I'm saying? Like you like, man, I really need to not hear this song for a little minute, right? Bro, I could not stop playing this song. I'm like, yo, this is so raw. So I reached out to Ron and was just all like, yo, like, can you connect me with this artist? Like, I really want to work with him. And it just so happened that at the time that I reached out to Ron, and of course, like me and Ron are like super cool. That's man, I cannot say enough about like what Ron has done for me from a connection standpoint, but also just from like a mentorship standpoint as an artist. He's taught me so much about art, but also just existing here as an artist in Chicago. You know, I definitely owe a lot of this to Ron and his mentorship and just his guidance and advice. And of course, when I hit Ron, he instantly hit Flex like, "Hey, yo, my guy, like, want to work with you, et cetera, et cetera." It just so happened that at the time, Flex is really deciding to just hit that next level, right? Take his whole operation more seriously, be more serious as an artist, all those things. So he hits me like, hey, this is really randomly convenient. I just got booked to do NIU's homecoming with Polo G. And I'm like, oh, we lit. Like, let's do it. And then he booked me to do it. Flex was one of the first artists that ever hit me up that was like instantly talking paper. Like instantly, right off the bat. What's your rate? My budget, this, and that. Instantly. As soon as we had a conversation, right? Mind you, I don't even know him. Like we hadn't even met. He just know me from Ron. But that's also like the kind of person Ron is. That speaks to who Ron is and how much respect we both have for Ron and just how much respect people have for Ron in general. For whatever reason, NIU was being super weird with Flex. And now that I really think about it, it probably wasn't NIU. It was probably like Columbia Records and Polo G's people because they ended up telling Flex, like, you can't bring no media and we only giving you like 2 guest spots and that whole rundown, right? So he's all like, hey, listen, I'm not gonna be able to bring you out for that, but like I'm working on some album things and stuff like that, and really just building out a team for real. So I want to link with you sometime in the near future, and we can listen to some music and this and that, and that's exactly what we did. And we started working. I instantly, me and Flex like really hit it off, and even with his team and his people, the rest of RVS and whatnot, we just got along and we meshed well together. We worked well together. I saw how committed he was, and I felt like me and him were simultaneously in a similar position, just in our careers in life, and we both were ready to go after our careers very seriously. Uh, and that's exactly what we did.
At this point, what do you feel like, right? You've had 10 years of a career, you've been associated with multiple groups. Do you feel like you're most synonymous with RichVision?
At this point, no, that's not a by choice thing. I just think real ones grew so big so fast that if I'm associated with anybody, it's real ones. Uh, but I mean, I'm a part of RVS 100%.
Often, RichVision is referred to as a family. It's this it's this collective of amazing artists. I've had the privilege to sit down with a lot of them. How did you see yourself fitting into that picture?
That's the thing is like when you fit in, it doesn't really feel like a process. It doesn't. We started working together, and it just felt like we had always been working together. I feel like you know I feel like I understand Flex really well. Obviously, he's like the marquee artist of the label. That's not to take anything away from Gold Haze because Gold Haze is really the most credentialed. He's got platinum plaques, he's got gold plaques, he's got crazy credits. And also too, in all of our own ways, we are a very underrated, undercovered, under spoken about people, right? The fact that Hayes is a really big producer, but he's not as big as he deserves to be, you know? And same thing with Flex. And I not a RVS album pun, but it sometimes is hard to be humble. Like I feel like I too, based on my contributions and the work that I've done, should be bigger in the sense of who I am as an artist and things of that nature.
So, another thing that I've asked every single member involved is seeing what RichVision has meant to all of you. What is the significance and meaning of it to you?
It really just symbolizes the process. You know, it's really about looking to the future and saying like we will get there. It's really about having that vision. It's really about believing in yourselves, but not just believing in yourself. It's looking to the person on the left of you, on the right of you, and saying, I believe in you too, bro. Like, not only am I going to get there, but like we are going to get there. And we are so committed to getting there. And there's not a situation, there's not a person, there's not there's not anything that can convince us otherwise that we would not arrive at the point of success individually and together. We are uncompromising when it comes to that. There is no disbelief. There is no doubt. There is no intimidation. We know where we're going. We 100% know where we're going. We know where we're going and we know who we're going there with.
And understanding that, right? Well, not even understanding that, but building out that team that believes in the vision wholeheartedly and all together, and not even just believing it, but understanding what that vision is. I was thinking about it today, and it's kind of like a pun because vision and see, but a lot of people see what you do. A lot of people see the success that it brings. They see the clout, but they don't understand it. What was it that made it so prominent? What was it that made it so important? and why did you start it in the first place? So they'll always see the result, but they're never going to understand the why behind what brought the result, right? And you guys were able to build that out. And for you previously, you talked about the importance of building a team, building with people rather than just shooting for that big shooting job. At what point did you realize the importance of building with people rather than going for that big job?
That question has two very, very key factors. First and foremost, the social way that the creative scene works out here. Bro, simply put, these big name photographers and stuff like that, people who you would probably look at and be like, work wise, material wise, right? They're my peers. They ain't want to rock with me, bro. I'm not in none of them circles. I'm not in none of them circles. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? That's why, like, when people bring up like the question of clout, like I don't have that. I literally don't even have that. you know? Uh I don't have that at all. And not only do am I not really connected with them, they I reached out to a lot of people when I was younger that were a lot more successful than me, but in relative proximity, right? Bro, I never got a response. I never they never hit me back. I said, man, I'll be an assistant on a shoot. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get out here. Never hit me. Never. You know, like none of the you can think of any big name right now. Never, never wanted to connect with me. Never hit me back on nothing. Nothing. Not at all. You know. So that's when I said, I don't care about them brand deals and stuff that y'all doing. Like, y'all need a lot of these folks need the Nike shoe to feel good about themselves. They don't feel like they even doing good work. Like, and that's the thing when we talk about like celebrity photographs and stuff. Is the photo good or is there a celebrity in it? Is the project good or is it a big contract with a company? Trust me, bro. Like, I'm a freelance photographer. I come from very humble economic beginnings in Waukegan. Get your money. You feel me? Get your bread. That's never the part that I hate on. I don't hate on it. I don't hate on any part. Actually, I just speak what's real. And what's real is a lot of people, you know, would not be considered big or even good if they weren't being connected to large artists or large brands. And that's just the facts of it, you know? So then bringing it in from a business perspective, bro, it makes way more sense to just build with, you know, 15 to 30 people that you know relatively well and consistently work with them. Not only do you begin to understand each other as artists better, right? Again, there's the thing of like consistent income in that, but as you work more, you you understand who they are, you understand what they want, you understand what they're doing, and vice versa, you know? And you're able to thoroughly build creatively on projects. You come to speak a certain language with each other, even, you know? And I think that is something that as I began to do it more, it was something that was just invaluable. You know, the H&M shoots, the Nike shoots, the Save Money 93 Boys shoots.
You did one of those?
No. I ain't do none of those. That's what I'm saying. It's like those things just mattered so much less than like building with my people.
Recently, I've decided that I'm going to interview who I want to interview, right? We went back and did a party promoter. We just interviewed Drip. And that's because I wanted to do that. And that comes from the fact that sometimes you I'm trying to find a way to relate it back to what you said. And I've been having a hard time of doing this recently for some reason. But for me, being able to do the interviews I want and work with the people I want means 10 times more than grabbing somebody because they have clout, right? Especially because sometimes, a lot of the times, those artists don't end up doing the views that you think they're gonna do anyways. So you interviewed them, they didn't repost the shit, and then they didn't get no views. So it's like, what did we do it for real? You know what I'm saying? So to your point of like, it becomes invaluable to the point of, I like to work with the people I want to work with because I I like to feel excited when I'm gonna come do an interview. I don't like to feel like, oh my gosh, we're doing this just to do it.
I never want to feel like that.
Now you talk about these people who you reached out to and they didn't respond. And in a previous interview, you mentioned that the gatekeepers are falling. They're failing. Chicago now has this community where a lot of people are coming together, working together. But sometimes I don't know, maybe because I didn't necessarily experience that gatekeeping, or even when I did, I understood that I wasn't at that level yet. So there was this thing, so I thought of it like, has Chicago's gatekeepers really failed, or have you just been granted access into those gates because of what you've accomplished now?
I think two things can be true where, yes, I've put in a lot of work, right? But also we have, like, we've broken a lot of those barriers, you know? And people aren't latching on to power in the same way that they once were. A lot of the big names are still the big names, but there's a lot less control there. And we have a more diverse community as far as like who's doing what. And I think we just care about our peers more now. We've had a culture shift. 100%. We've had a culture shift. And I just think that's a good thing overall. Like, yes, a lot of us have been grinding for a long time. But I don't think anybody that's been let into the gate from like my peer group specifically, which is pretty wide ranging, is trying to close the gate and keep the gate upheld. We like more, 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 We not we not trying to we don't want to do none of that old stuff that kept us down.
I don't know. For me, it just felt like I understood, like when I started, I'm not gonna be able to reach out to like certain artists. Like that's just not the reality of what it is. Cause at that time, you also gotta understand, like, I gotta build out before anybody's gonna take this shit seriously. I don't know. Sometimes, hot take, maybe from me to you, right? But sometimes I do feel like people call people gatekeepers and they haven't established themselves yet.
Again, man, two things can be true. And trust me, like at certain points, there was 100% a lot of gatekeepers, people with gatekeeping ideologies, uh, Chicago nepotism type thing. It's very real. It's very real at one point.
Someone that often uses callbacks to when they weren't given opportunities is your boy Ben. So when I think about that and the like real ones and everything, I'm like, it's great to see what he's been able to create and build out the team, because now he's collaborating with those people that weren't even responding back. Seeing this young group up and coming, this media group, what what was it that what was it that initiated you to join?
I saw that they were like I once was. And again, we've had that culture shift. I didn't want to uphold anything of the past. I knew that we were all people individually who, in our own situations, in our own lives, were overlooked, you know, in many different ways. In many different ways. Uh, But I also knew that these were extremely dedicated people, extremely passionate people, and people who would benefit from the presence of someone like me who had just been out here doing this thing for a while, right? And also I benefit so much from them. Like they keep me like up on stuff and young and like hip, you know? And I think that's a very important exchange between people. Like old friends that keep you wise and young friends that keep you fresh. You feel me? And that's just a necessary thing. Also, I met them pretty much like right when I moved out here. So, man, they were just like on a streak of just like having hella shows. And I just again, I'm always about getting shots up. Always. So I was just going to like all the shows and like shooting. And it was a thing to do, like literally because there was nothing else to do. So I was just like rocking out like that. And then they like gifted me a box of candy for Valentine's Day. And that's how we really got locked in.
And while chasing your dreams through these various groups, there was this self work that you had to do, right? Earlier, you mentioned early on in life, you often had this negative self perception. Now, one of these most important changes you made in your life was you decided to stop drinking. Where'd that come from?
It came from a lot of things. So first and foremost, I was born with a congenital heart disease. So when I was younger, I had a surgery at birth where essentially it's called like a Fontan procedure, and basically my heart is like physically hooked up much different than a conventional heart. They unhooked my heart and essentially hooked it to my lung to give me like direct oxygen, oxygenated blood. Okay. And a side effect of the Fontan procedure is scarring throughout one's lifespan on your liver, right? Your liver is where alcohol is processed. So I already had a bad heart and a weakened liver to jump off, right? But also, bro, when I was younger, and you know, as Latino kids, like we gets to drinking like early. You feel me? So I was wilding, bro. And we were, bro. We were lit in Waukegan. You know, we was throwing all the parties, bro. I had a party in Waukegan. I don't even want to speak too much on this, bro. My mom's gonna kill me. Like I'm 28 years old, damn near. She's,
You don't know that it happened?
bro. No, nah. This is yeah. I don't know why. Like I literally feel scared right
You
now.
threw a party
Actually,
at the crib?
yeah. Trended on Twitter and everything,
Ain't no
bro.
fucking way.
Trended on Twitter, bro.
You got the video?
Wasn't no videos back then for real. That's the thing too. We had a different culture.
What do
Like,
you mean you how were you trending on Twitter then?
bro, everybody was talking about it before it even happened. So many people came, bro. You couldn't. So many people came to this party, bro, that you couldn't drive through my neighborhood anymore.
What was the hashtag?
Hashtag Jordan's Juke Extravaganza.
What the fuck?
I promise you, if you're bored on Twitter, look it up. Look it up if you're bored on Twitter. But I'm sorry, mom, but it was lit.
And she still don't know it didn't happen.
I guess if she watches this far into the interview, she'll find out. Hopefully she don't. Hopefully she looks over this interview and doesn't watch it. But again, that was just one of many things, bro. We was having parties every weekend. You know, we was just taking party buses out here. We used to have this and honestly, like I'm not even trying to protect their identity because I don't agree with this practice. I literally just can't remember the club name. But we was like 19, 20 years old, and we used to have like a club connect out here. We'd get on the party bus in Waukegan and come out here and like get a section in the club and whatnot at like 19, 20 years old, bro. So like we was just going crazy, you feel me, for like a fat minute, like a good like 2, 3 years. Bro, it's just mad unhealthy. I'm going to Hardee's at like 1 in the morning eating like 8 cheeseburgers. You know what I'm saying? Like just crazy things, right? Crazy things, unhealthy lifestyle, but also like what led to that unhealthy lifestyle was a lot of not valuing myself, right? But also not even just recognizing like I'm a person, you know? And I do have to care about myself, right? And learning the steps to that. And My doctor, I had an amazing doctor at the time. Like I aged out of the children's heart clinic, so like he's not my doctor anymore, but he was an incredible doctor. We had a great relationship. Uh really really just one of the best people in my life, period, my doctor. And he just kept stuff real with me, bro. He was all like, "Man, you really just shouldn't drink. Like your liver already has like a lot of scarring. Every time you drink, it scars more every single time, right? Cuz alcohol is poison. It shouldn't be in your body, you know?" So, he told me that, and he's all like, "Man, and if you smoking weed, like just try not to smoke blunts. Like smoke out of glass pieces or like use joints." And because he asked me like if I smoke cigarettes, I'm like, hell no, I never smoked a cigarette. That's crazy. Cigarettes is crazy.
Lunch straight to the heart is crazy.
It is crazy. It's a crazy thing to think about. You feel me? But that's my life, and that's who I am. And I grew up having to deal with that, So it's just something that as I grew older, and again, my doctor was just like, yo, just you need to get some healthy habits. Um, Bro, I was like mad overweight too. So like overweight, drinking, I don't even care about myself.
Why was it do you feel like you couldn't value yourself? Where do you feel like that thought originated from?
There wasn't nothing to value, bro. Like I I had made like a lot of mistakes in my life as a teenager, where like I didn't graduate from high school on time. I had to then go to like credit recovery classes. Um I was always getting in trouble in school. You know, selling weed for a long time, things like that. Just mischievous, degenerate activity, bro. For real. For real. But a lot of that was also just straight up a side effect of depression. Just straight up a side effect of depression. Like I there wasn't a lot of things that were good in my life. Like I come from Waukegan, bro. There's not a lot there. Like I love Waukegan because I'm from Waukegan, but I also know the like harsh reality of Waukegan. Waukegan is a place where like close to 60 to 70% of the people there do not even make the national like average income. It's an impoverished city, you know? And like these are the realities that we're dealing with. We have gun violence issues. There's the summer gets hot, you know? All of these things affected my life, man. Who my family was and stuff like that. Like growing up growing up, I won't say necessarily growing up inside of gang culture, but heavily exposed to gang culture. What role model did I have? Who could I look to and be like, that's what I want to do? Nobody, bro. So it's like these are all things that add up to a person not feeling good about themselves. What do I have to feel good about?
I don't even necessarily know if it's 100% correct, but your role models are people who are living this lifestyle that proves that I have no value for my life because I'm ready to go at any moment.
Right. I wouldn't say that they were role models, but these were my examples of an adult male figure, right? Adult male figure, but also, bro, like it was a cultural city and family thing where like, bro, I knew women gangbangers and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's as much as people like joke and harp about like Waukegan, like it's really like that out there. And I know that like especially if you grew up in Chicago, like it's hard to like kind of fathom like another place kind of being similar, but it is, and when I looked to the male adult figures in my life outside of my grandpa, like people really wasn't shit, bro.
And when you carry that with you every single day, when you carry that thought of having no value, when you carry that negative self perception, you either start to project on other people
Mm-hmm.
or you hurt people yourself.
Exactly.
In what ways did you see your negative self perception impact your relationship with others?
I don't think I had too much of a negative impact on others because I always treated people good. I wasn't really like a crash out socially. Like I wasn't a pot stirrer or nothing like that. Like I always treated people well. That's one thing that like a lot of people, if you could probably survey a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? They might hate on me because I took their girl out or something, but I treated people well relatively speaking. But how it did affect me, right, was just I made a lot of relationships that I probably shouldn't have or didn't need to have, right? I was in a lot of places that I probably didn't need to be in, you know, and things like that where I'm impacting myself by putting myself in danger consistently. You know, like a lot of people don't even know this. I say that I got my start here, bro, but like I literally learned how to take photos like literally in a trap house. You know, that is that was my court. And these are things, these are archives that will never see the light of day. But that was my reality. That was where I was practicing at. That's how I learned photography. Was inside of a damn drug house.
And a lot of the times, right, people become comfortable with this negative, with this toxic cycle. You become comfortable with this toxic cycle. And the reason you become comfortable is because it's what you know. So you could have easily stayed in Waukegan. You could have easily continued to live a life of drinking and fucking yourself up, essentially, killing yourself. But that wasn't the route you chose, right? At times, we have to decide whether we're going to tear everything apart and strip us down to our core and rebuild or stay in that cycle. It's the same reason people stay in toxic relationships. It's what we know. Why did you decide that you had to break this cycle?
Man, you gotta pick your hard, bro. You really gotta pick your hard. Like, it really hit me that like what it hit me was I had a realization of a couple different things like simultaneously. One, like all my friends went to college, bro. They all went to college. And I was like, the reason why I ended up like in the trap house and things like that was because like all my lifelong friends had like gone away to school. So I was literally like by myself. Had just finished up credit recovery and whatnot because, like I said, I didn't graduate on time. And I had a couple realizations. One of them was like, wow, I actually haven't been to jail. So throughout everything, like I never got popped, never got locked up, none of that, right? So I'm like, okay, like I got that going for me, which might sound crazy to people, but like coming from where I come from, like that's a very real thing, you know, as almost like a mark of success, right? Number two, I didn't have kids. So no kids, never been to jail, right? And then three, I just looked at everything around me and just didn't, that's not what I wanted, bro. It just wasn't what I wanted. And I knew that I wanted to feel different. At the time, I didn't really know what that looked like. I didn't really know what that felt like. I was just like, man, like something just has to be different here in some way, shape, or form. Like something has to be different.
And when you decided to choose that different, you picked up that camera, you
Hmm.
came out here, and you started making a way for yourself.
Hmm.
And when that happens, right, nobody hands you a blueprint and says,
No,
go make
not at
this shit
all.
happen. Nobody tells you what's gonna happen and the things you gotta give up. In the song Sorry by Kid Laroi, he says, no one ever told me what I'd have to sacrifice for fame. I'm just trying not to go insane, but I got all this weight on me and I just wanna run away. And a lot of the times that's how it feels, right? You look back at all the success and you look at all these things that you left along the way. You chased the job and you lost an internship that you chalk up as the biggest regret you've had in a decade.
Hmm. Creatively.
For me, looking back, it's I push so hard for this that I lose a relationship. And as an artist, you think, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna go as hard as I can because that's all I know, and I'm young right now, so I have to do it right now. And you have a story like that. You threw away a fucking Masego shoot.
Yeah. So that's a funny story.
Was it someone you were dating long term?
Yeah, yeah, it was. Uh, I cared about them a lot. I did, you know. Um, I mean, looking back on it, like we just weren't for each other forever, obviously, because things work out exactly how they're supposed to.
They married yet?
No, I think they got a dog with somebody though. So it's like, props to them though. Props to them. They were always like a great person. And I don't regret it either way because like who knows if like that concert would have like really changed my life or anything like that. Like these are all parts of like what just makes you you. Your life experience and the things you learn along the way. It's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have prioritized the relationship that night instead of shooting the show. But like, who knows, bro? It was at Bottom Lounge. Like, that's not a shot at Bottom Lounge. I'm just saying, like, whose life is being changed in Bottom
But
Lounge?
most of the time, those opportunities don't change your life, right? You just chalk it up as it's an opportunity, and I'm missing it because I'm with you right now. So now you create this unreasonable, what the fuck is the word? Not regret, um, resent. You create this unreasonable resent towards somebody because in your head, in your mind, when you're a creative, you're taking away from what I'm doing. So now I'm mad at you. But in reality, those you go to so many of these things and your life doesn't change overnight.
I also never really felt that way about her. Just being real, I didn't feel like she ruined anything for me. She was always very supportive. We were just different people. You know what I'm saying? And as we grew older, we were just different.
In the clip, obviously, you talk about like, oh, cancel that date.
I say that to say prioritize yourself. The point of that story, right, is not that I chose to go on a date with my girl at the same night that somebody from Masego's PR wants me to shoot his concert. The point of that story is we knew that we weren't going to work out already at that point, right? The point is, why was I still in that relationship? I don't have and I'm not saying this because I have beef with that person or anything. I have no beef with that person. I super respect them. They're a great person. I wish them nothing but success and prosperity in this life. But why were we together still? We shouldn't have been. If I was prioritizing myself, if she was prioritizing herself, we wouldn't have been together. And the conflict would have never even arose. That's what I'm more so saying. Is like, why are you dragging things out and being in a situation you know you shouldn't be in anymore? That's the wisdom I have today. In that moment, I would have did anything like I did to hold on to that relationship and extend it, right? But it just wasn't meant to be. And we never even had to do all that.
What was it that you felt the need to hold on to with that relationship?
Man, I just loved them. Like this, sometimes it's just that simple. When you love somebody, you just want to try.
I ask you that question though because a lot of the times we hold on to these relationships because we think it's what we need. We're holding on to something that we once had. We're holding on to this idea of what a person used to be like. And a lot of the times you just outgrow those people. But you love the idea of what it was at one point. You know what I'm saying? So you continue holding on to this thing that's not even making you happy anymore. And that's what I talked about in the toxic cycle part is that what you had was what made you so excited every single day. And slowly that turned into something where that excitement turned into arguments and it's a different type of excitement. It's a negative excitement because now you're getting that same rush but in a negative way. So you become comfortable with that reality.
we grew in different directions. I was a different person than she was. Like we were just different. It was incompatible. What was once compatible was no longer compatible, and it was just very simple. It's kind of like snapping a bone in half. It was just a clean break. Like we didn't, like I said, there's no beef. There's not really no animosity and or nothing like that. Her sister's actually a really dope artist from Waukegan, who makes like a ton of dope art, and I like super support her sister. This coffee shop whose shirt like I'm wearing right now, her sister has like participated in a whole bunch of pop-ups. And like, bro, I always like pull up, help her sister out. You know what I'm saying? You need help putting the table in the car, like whatever. Like I'm like, there's no beef or animosity there at all. We just became two different people who are no longer compatible in a loving relationship. That's it. Like I wish there was a juicier story. I mean, I really do, but that's just the reality. Is like,
There ain't got to be no story, bro.
you
I'm,
know,
I'm just telling you my reality too. Damn, bro.
no facts, facts,
Let me
facts.
vent on my platform, dog.
No, yeah, okay. So how you feel about that?
Nah, it's a wrap, bro. It's a wrap. Do you think there ever was a point where you felt like you were okay sacrificing relationships to chase your passion?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I felt that way, but that doesn't mean that I still think that that was the right idea or feeling or decision, right? Because I felt that way about leaving here, where I was all like wherever, like I'm going where I'm going. You feel me? And it's like if people feel a way about it, then they feel a way about it. But I don't know if I feel good about that today. Uh, so yeah, I mean I definitely felt like that, but that I don't know if I have a lot of conviction in those actions or feelings today.
I was just watching an interview with G Easy, and he's talking about unhealthy and healthy selfishness. And healthy selfishness is knowing when to choose you and doing that. And unhealthy selfishness is just not caring about anybody's feelings except your own. And artists fall into that a lot of the times, bro. And it's hard to look at anything outside of what you're doing as more important. And it's also unfair for you to put that expectation on somebody else that you need to understand this. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
hmm
Anything you want to plug, anything you want to mention? We're about to wrap up.
This isn't even like a plug or anything. This is just my philosophy. I really wish more artists would like care less about feeding into like pop culture and this capitalist system and stuff like that, and like make some real art and like cover something for real and talk about real topics. I think that's actually why like I've been watching like your show for like a very long time before we even got in contact with each other, because I like the mental health aspect of like what you talk about on here, and I feel like perhaps like you're not on here doing like political organizing or things like that, but like you as a journalist, right? You as a creative, you as an artist, you make a positive contribution to the space because you talk about real things. And that's what we need. We need reality. We need to interrogate ourselves, interrogate our peers. Why do we feel the way that we do about certain things, right? Why do we not feel any way about certain things? And I'm just tired of people being artists for the sake of being artists. I think it's lame. I think I think it's a waste of space, you know? And I think a lot of people are selling themselves short and they could do better
Mm.
and they could serve their communities better and serve the world better.
How do you think people could serve the world better?
You can do so much as an artist. You can be more than what capitalism tells you can be as an artist. You can be somebody to your community. You can create social change. You can help support social change. One of the biggest blessings I've had as a creative is working with the organization Chicago Votes. We've been working together for like 6 years now, you know, and they have doing that work has transformed to me what it means to be an artist. Because back in the day, I did want to do just a lot of the, you know, popular stuff and yeah, right. Wanted to be in the clubs, right? Wanted the artist clout, right? But like oh, like the I want to take celebrity photographs and like have local clout and this and that,
But
right?
why did that change?
Because there are things that are just simply more important, bro. Like being a good person is more important. Serving my community is more important
But why can't two things be true just like you
because they
said?
often don't. Because a lot of times capitalism forces people to sacrifice and compromise on a lot of those values. The country that we live in and the way in which we live forces people to sacrifice to where a lot of times you literally can't do both.
After talking to you, there's literally like two different versions of Jordan you've been over these over this decade. And it's not really two different versions of because there's been multiple versions of one person throughout a decade. But there's two distinct versions. And there's this person who really gave a fuck about this artist's life and partying, and there's this person that stopped giving a fuck about that. Where did that change happen and why?
So I spoke a little bit on Chicago Votes, and how we got linked up was Chicago Votes. I got hooked up to working with them through a friend, the homie Alec. He was like an intern for them at one point, and the first ever like Parade to the Polls concert that they threw was like with Chance in Grant Park. So literally the first concert I ever shot was like a Chance concert. Funny enough, where like after the concert, we literally marched from Grant Park to the polling location.
Damn.
Chance included, like everybody, right? And that day was so transformative to me because I saw like art as a vehicle for change, right? How how these people having a concert could get like literally 20,000 people to then walk to the polling location and vote. A lot of people did. A lot of people voted that day, you know? And that was the year though that like ultimately Trump won. This was 2016, right? But that was the very first time that I saw art as a vehicle for change. And I also saw a lot of things that day like censorship, bro. I walked right with Chance to the front doors. Obviously, like we have cameras and stuff. You can't bring that stuff into like a polling location, right? So I'm outside with like the NBC like news anchor reporting live, right? He's like on the scene reporting live, and they shut down his live station. And you know why they shut down his live station? Because they could hear people in the background saying like anti-Trump things. And he's a Trump is a person who owns a lot of media, has ownership
They
stake
yeah.
in a lot of media and stuff. And they shut down this wasn't no intern, bruh. This is like one of their biggest live reporters on the scene of the major polling location in Chicago on election night. And they shut down his live station. That taught me about censorship, right? It taught me like it's so important for me to have these photos and remember this. And then in 2018, Chicago Votes like did a little gallery um and invited me to be a part of it, right? And this was when they started their Give a Shit collective. Um which was just like a collective of artists that would work with them um not only uplift they would help uplift like the artist's work, but the artists did a lot of work for them too, affecting social change and advocacy for the things that they were working on. And I remember having a conversation with Stevie after they like pretty much had a conversation. It was like me and like 10 other people, right? And Stevie, who's the executive director of Chicago Votes, still great person, a person who's done a lot of great work and has really inspired me a lot. I had a private conversation with him after, and I'm just like, man, like, I never really thought that what I'm doing could be used for change on such an impactful like scale. And doing work with them was another part of like helping me believe in myself and helping me value myself as a person and say that like, man, I'm as a as a as a artist, we can be extremely impactful people and we can work on good projects and we can be advocates for good social change, you know? And I think just doing the work with Chicago Votes, being close to that organization, completely changed the arc of who I am, not only as a person, but what I believe art and artists are.
Well, I appreciate you coming through, bro. We've been going at it for 2 hours.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you. You got anything you want to plug real quick?
I'm HeavyButLite at HeavyButLite, LITE, like Miller Lite. And look out for more organizing stuff through Chicago dissenters. And if you're watching this as part of a national audience,
Make sure you guys go ahead, follow HeavyButLite. Make sure you go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Sad Boys for real. Peace out.
This is Sad Boy Radio.